Hello everyone. In this video tutorial I'm gonna show you guys how to set up Mailcow mail server on Ubuntu 20.04. And in this video tutorial this will be the first one, and in upcoming video tutorials I will show you guys many more interesting stuff which will be required for cold mailing or bulk mailing. So let's get started. In order to start with bulk mailing or cold mailing, you need to make sure that you have maintained all possible standards for better mail deliverability. So in that case, you need to publish DKIM record, DMARC record, SPF. Maybe you can add MTS, TLSA, and bunch of other protocols. So in this case I'm gonna start with just a basic mail server, then I'm gonna start one by one. And for our instance I'm gonna just deploy with Volter. Here you need to remember one thing: if you like to start a mail server, then you make sure that your mail server provider, your hosting provider, allow you to send outbound traffic. So in our case, Volter is allowing us to send SMTP traffic, and this is just gonna be a test, a temporary mail server, so we are not actually gonna use Volter. So let's get started. In Volter I'm gonna just select a server, so cloud compute, Intel high performance, I think that maybe high frequency. If you like to go for a long term, then you should go for high frequency, which gives you more clock rate. So since this is temporary, so I'm gonna just go with the regular performance. And for Mailcow requirements, it required at least two CPU and 8 GB RAM. So I'm gonna select the region, probably Singapore maybe, and OS Ubuntu 20.04. And server size, which is at least two core and 8 GB RAM. So this one would be enough, but I'll maintain their requirements. Okay. Then auto backups not needed for me right now, but you can enable that one. You can additionally enable IPv6 if you want. So I'll just keep that part, but I still gonna keep IPv6 just in case if I need to do additional video for IPv6. And you need to add your SSH key, or you can just start with the root password. So I'm gonna add my SSH key, and let's just give a server host name. This is something you need to do, and make sure you put the focus on here. So I'm gonna use the domain, use a FQDN, full qualified domain name, that would be required to publish PTR record or RDNS. This is must, you need to do this. So in that case I'm going to use smtp.lab.xyz and deploy. So that's going to take a couple of minutes. So it's deployed now. I'm gonna click on the server. Okay, here's the server. It's still installing probably, so we got the IP address in here. So we're gonna use this IP address, and we're gonna copy this IP address first. Then we're gonna go to the domain name, and then we're gonna point some records to that one. So you need to have your domain access, domain DNS access. So in our case we are using Cloudflare. So let's go to the Cloudflare and create some records. So we're gonna copy IP address, then go to the Cloudflare, and here I'm gonna add an A record before I set up PTR record. So we selected SMTP, then the IP address, and make sure the proxy is disabled. Save. And in addition to that, you can also use IPv6 if you want. So If you use IPv6, then you should select AAA and A, then use the same record and put IPv6 address and save. So if you don't want the complexity, then just skip and don't add this record, because sometimes if you, when you add the IPv6 record, when you try to issue the lesson with SSL, that makes these things complicated because of their routing and IP configuration. So now we created the A record, so now we can go ahead and create PTR record. So if we go to the settings, you can see right now the reverse DNS or RDNS or PTR record is currently pointed to Volter, which is not good for mail server setup. So we're gonna edit that one and put our domain name, so which is smtp.smtplab.xyz and update. So it might gonna take some time to update depending on your provider. So in Volter case, I think it's gonna be updated within a couple of minutes. So now we are ready to connect and start the installing of mail server. So let's copy the server IP address, and I'm gonna just open my, I have SSH key installed, so I'm gonna just upload my SSH key and connect the server. And if you have the root key, just enter the IP address and click connect. So I'm gonna open that. Okay, it's still installing, so let's wait a couple of minutes. Okay, I got the server on, I got server online, so let's connect it. Okay, we are inside server, so let's pull it out. Okay, so first thing first, we're gonna do apt update. Then you can do apt upgrade as well. So all of these packages are installed. So now we're gonna edit the host configuration file. So nano etc host, and here you can see Volter already added this record like 127.0.1.1 and this one. So in case if you don't have this record created, then you need to add it yourself. So you just need to add 127.0.1.1, then you're gonna add a space and enter your FQDN, and you can also add the first part of FQDN, which is not necessarily needed, but you need to add this one. So since we are done in here, we're gonna close this. Now we're gonna install Docker first. So if you go through the Docker documentation for Ubuntu, this one is Ubuntu Docker documentation. So we're gonna basically follow that one. So just copy this. Then we're gonna add Docker repository key, which is added. Now the next part is like update one more time, since we added the repository links. Okay, now we're going to install all this Docker stuff. Depending on your server speed, it's going to take some time, so I think it should be done within a couple of minutes. And to install the Mailcow, we can follow this tutorial. This is their official tutorial. So here they also mention the Docker installation process. I just skip their part because they this is not up to date sometimes, so I just followed the official tutorial of installing Docker. So here if you use CentOS or other OS, you can follow that tutorial. So I'm gonna start from here, from this segment. So let's see the progress. Okay, the kernel process and other stuff. So now Docker is installed, so we're gonna now clone that Docker, clone the Mailcow repository from GitHub. So I'm gonna copy this. Oh, before I clone, I need to enter the cd op directory, and make sure you are already in root mode. You should not be in regular, user mode. So you can see hash, which means you're in root mode. And I'm gonna enter the opt directory. Then I'm gonna clone their repository. Then we're gonna enter the clone directory, which is Mailcow Dockerized, and we are inside Mailcow Dockerized folder. Now we're gonna click generate. We're gonna copy this command, and this will generate Mailcow configuration. So now it's asking for mail server host name. So if you remember, that's the one we input while we set up, while we start the installation. So which is smtp.smtplab.xyz. Time zone, you can keep etc, UTC, or you can enter your own time zone. So I'm gonna keep that one. And now it's asking for which branch you like to use. If you like to use master branch or the developer, which is nightly branch. So I'm going to use stable one, which is master branch. So for that one, I have to press 1. So clone process is done. So now we can just follow the rest of the process, but I am going to do some tweaking to that configuration file. So nano mailcow config. So here you can see mailcow hostname, which is fine. DB name, I like to add DB _ user, and here's the DB and DB root password, which is fine. If you like to change ports, you can do that from here. HTTPS +443, which is fine. Here I'm gonna look for, if you like to add additional SSL, you can put this domain name, and if you like to add additional server name to access the mail server, you can put the additional server name in here. Here I'm gonna do this modification: skip let's encrypt. No, I'm gonna use let's encrypt SSL. If you like to use your own SSL, you can put Y in here. And enable SSL SNI, not needed. Skip IPv4 check, yes, that's what I like to skip. HTTP verification, disable. I like to disable the verification. And anything else? Allow admin email logging. You can enable that, so this way when you're gonna add any mailbox, you will have permission to logging directly right from the UI. This is not recommended if you maintain privacy or if you have customers, so you don't necessarily need to log in their mailbox. But since this is for testing purpose, and we probably need to check the mailbox, that's why we selected it. And that's it pretty much. We're gonna control X and Y, enter. Now we're gonna continue the rest of the process, which is docker compose pull. It's gonna pull all the Docker container, and it's gonna take at least a minute or two, so I'm gonna give a pause. Alright, all the repository pulled. Now we're gonna start the mail server, which is docker compose up -d. We're gonna run in background, so created, and it's done. So now the mail server is running, which should be running on HTTP or HTTPS smtp lab.xyz, the FQDN that you mentioned. So before I am gonna access the UI, which is okay, let me just start the UI. HTTP then smtp.lab.xyz. You can see this is non-secure, which means the SSL is this is non-HTTPS version. So let's type to HTTPS. You can see the SSL is not installed, which is, I mean, right now we are using self-signed SSL, so that means we need to issue the Let's Encrypt SSL. So before I install Let's Encrypt SSL, I like to enable HTTP to HTTPS redirect, so I should not use regular HTTP version. You can skip that part if it's not required for you, but this is highly recommended. So I'm going to click on that link. They say that create a new file in this configuration. So since I'm on the Mailcow directory, I'm going to just create a new file, nano. Then I'm going to just copy this. This is basically an Nginx configuration and telling the Nginx server that whenever we are trying to access that particular mail server, I mean website or mail server URL, it's gonna let us automatically connect to HTTPS port. So Control X, Y, enter, and you should do docker compose restart as well to take it in effect. Okay, so now if we just try to remove HTTPS and just try to use HTTP, you can see it's redirecting to us to HTTPS. And since we restarted, the Let's Encrypt container also restarted and issued the SSL. So since I already have the SSL, I could not actually show that process, but I'm gonna still repeat that process for you guys. So after the installation, you need to complete the SSL installation part. If it's not automatically, then you have to do it yourself. So if you like to install the SSL, I'm gonna use their documentation. Let me just check. Advanced SSL. Then you just have to do this part, like this one. You just need to restart the Let's Encrypt container. That's going to install the SSL. So since the SSL is already installed, if I just check the log, you can see it found the records in here, and the SSL installation is validated and it's done. So you're gonna just do this one, and that should help you to install the SSL. So now Mailcow is installed. We're gonna just log in this portal. So by default, the username is admin and password is MWHWO. And you can see this is a fresh interface, and that's it. This is your mail server. Now if you like to add your domain, you're gonna go to the configuration, add domain. So we're gonna type smtp lab.xyz, and for selector I'm gonna use Mailcow. You can use anything. So I'm just skipping default selector because if you use any other provider, let's say cPanel or anything, it might conflict. So that's why you can use different selectors. So I'm going to use Mailcow. And if you use any other provider along with your domain name, let's say you are using dual delivery or split delivery, in that case you can check those things. So I'll be using this domain for any multiple purposes. So I'm gonna just check this relays things, but if you just only using on Mailcow, you don't necessarily need to check these things. Okay, and then you're gonna click add domain and restart server. And by the way, here you're gonna set how much mailbox, how many mailbox, or how much storage you like to put for that particular domain. So that should be fine for me. I'm gonna just click add and restart the container. Alright, so we can see the domain is here. Now we need to publish the DNS records. So let's go and publish the DNS records. Here you're gonna click DNS, and that will, the server will try to scan the domain and see if all DNS records are fine. So it's gonna take a couple of seconds, and it's gonna show you which DNS records you need to add. So as you can see, I have almost all of the DNS records are added in background. So I will show you guys, or probably put a link where you can copy the DNS template, so you can just change your domain name there and import that on your DNS provider. So first of all, you need to publish a record. So I already published a records, and you can see this is the important one. PTR record is published, and the IPv6 record is also published, which is not necessarily needed. So IPv6 PTR record is not published. That's something you can do. So let's go to IPv6 network. Like here we can see IPv6. So we can actually add the reverse record in here as well if you want. So since this is our IP address, I'm gonna just put this IP address in here and just copy username and add. So IPv6 record is also, reverse record is also added. So now let's go back to here. So here you can see some other records which I also already created. And for the SPF record, I have custom SPF record, but you need to copy server name. Basically, you can do this way. So I have SPF records in here. This one is our SPF record. So here you can just add IPv4 : the IP address, and if you have CID or range, you can put it here. So since this is only a single IP address, it's going to be 32. And if you like to add IPv6, then IPv6, and copy the IPv6 address as well, and save. And rest other, you can see DKIM record. I already created DKIM record. So here is the all records pretty much needed. I added all of them. I additionally added some other records for other purposes, which I'll probably explain in later videos. So these are the optional records which you can add if you like to use only Mailcow server as a primary email server. And I additionally added BMI record for brand identity, and here I also using DMARC record, and I'm currently using reject. So in case if the mail is not compliant properly, then it will be rejected. And my primary MX record is you can see, where is that? So primary MX record is the mail server, pointing to mail server. So let's go to the mail server now, and we're gonna create a mailbox and do a mail test. So I'm gonna add a mailbox. Let's say support. Then here's the domain name and full name, support, and put a password. Let's say and add. That's it. So the mailbox is created, and if you like to log into that mailbox, you're gonna just click on apps and click webmail, and basically your hostname /sogo, which is the webmail address. So I'm gonna enter support username, which is support at smtplab.xyz. Okay, I'm inside the mailbox, so I'm gonna do a mail test. So mail tester. So I'm gonna copy their test mailbox address, and here I'm gonna type the recipient and subject. So let me just take a generic copy of a mail, and send. So if your mail provider allow you to send outbound mail, in that case mail should be gone. So let's go and click check your score. You can see my score is really bad. Something is not okay, so you're not allowed to use sender address. Let's see. So SPF record is incorrect. So I think we made mistake to add SPF records here. So if we go back to SPF record tab, where is the SPF record? Okay, I think that should fix. Here, okay, here I made a mistake here. Let me check again. Okay, I made a mistake, which is it should be IP6 or IP4, not V. So /32, save. So that should fix the SPF issue. It's gonna take some time to reflect in here. So technically your mail server is up. You can see the score is already up now. So since this is a test mail, spam SSIN is showing some issue that there's a blah 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 like XYZ TLD. So that's not an issue if you're sending from a .com domain or .net domain. So this is how you're gonna configure your Mailcow mail server with all possible practice. In later videos we will show many other advanced configuration with other ESP provider. Hopefully you guys will watch these videos. Thank you.